I'm John Dutton, and this is Spilled Ink. It is January 8th. It has been a crazy week this week, and it is a blessing to be here. I'm so glad that I'm joined by writers, authors, scribblers as myself, so we're going to have a great night. I'm going to share my screen with you because I have to show you the cast of characters. Here we are. It is an Among Us mystery, people. So it's basically playing Clue, but you're spacemen up here. You're a color of a spaceman, and you play on the ship called the Skeld. So this is a science fiction mystery. All right. Scion looked rather blue while I entered the ship's weapons room. Red, I want to be left alone, Scion whimpered as he turned to face the corner of the room. Why, I asked. The game just started. I'm not good at playing this game. I never seem to know who the imposters are. I seem to always get killed. It's just a game, I interrupted his sob fest. I'm not good at playing this game. I always get killed or lose. I never seem to figure out who the imposters are. Scion continued to whimper with his chin resting on his chest. It's a game. You'll get better at it. I don't know. I hate regenerating because it's so painful. I would like to win just once to avoid that. Scion shivered at the thought. Oh, I hear you. Say, I have an idea. Let's partner up. Okay, but I'm not very good. You may be disappointed in me at the end, Scion muttered. Well, you may be disappointed in me as well. No one's perfect, you know. We should check security to see if we can catch the imposters on the act in the act on the camera. At least we may see someone acting sus on cam, Scion suggested hopefully. Well, that's a great idea. See, you know what you're doing. Let's go. I put on my best face as to hopefully brighten Scion's spirits. While on their way to security, the two partners passed through the cafeteria. Holy guacamole, is that Brown? I think he's dead. Oh, he's dead all right. The knife is still sticking out. It's embedded in his back. Nothing we can do for Brown now. Go ahead, call it in. Scion rushes over to the table in the middle of the cafeteria and smashes his hand down upon the alarm button, located in the center of the table, all the while screaming, Brown is down, Brown is down, at the top of his lungs. Zap! Instantly, all space personnel are transported to the cafeteria. Where, spouts Yellow. There, points Scion. Where, asks Black. There, Scion continues to point. Where, inquires Purple. Oh, right there! Scion's arm is looking like a jackhammer as it continues to point at the space personnel arrive, as all the space personnel arrive and ask the same question. Any suspects, pondered Pink? No one is sus. Scion and I walked in here together from weapons. Red's right. We came in from weapons and nearly stumbled over Brown's body, confirmed Scion. Black sputters. Self-report? No, you idiot. I know you think it is a self-report each and every time, but I just said Red and I discovered the body. Jeez, quipped Scion. Black announces, okay, I'm skipping the vote then. Okay, the vote is soon taken and all players have skipped their vote, meaning that no one is ejected. All personnel depart to finish their assigned task. Scion, where are you going? I have to complete a task here in the cafeteria. I have to empty the trash. Dude, do you realize that if you do the task, you die? This is where the imposter nails you, punches your ticket, kicks your bucket, has you pushing daisies. Scion interrupted. You forgot cashing in my chips. I was getting to that one. Scion, Red chuckles, or I chuckle. Okay, now I always hang out in communications because hardly anyone goes there. But I liked your idea of checking the cams and security. Let's continue on to there. The two sleuths continue on past med bay towards security. The two had just walked through the door when zap! All space personnel are transported back into the cafeteria awaiting another vote. Oh, I can't get anything done, I shout. Now what? Scion stands beside me shivering. Are you okay, I ask? Teleporting is always so painful. You would think with all the technology these days that someone could invent something a little bit less painful on the body, sighs Cyan. Where, probes Pink? Dark Green stammers. I found what was left of Orange's body. Where, asks Lime. Where, wonders White. Stop asking questions and listen, explodes Purple. Our intellectual, an imposter fried him until he looked like a shriveled piece of extra crispy bacon. What a heartless individual, Dark Green standing, just shaking his head in disbelief. Self-report, shouts Black, self-report! Just in case it is a self-report, Dark Green is voted out. However, he was not the imposter. Come on, let's try making it back to security. I nudge Cyan's arm. Okay, but I feel it's not... Then not doing any task is somehow cheating, Cyan mumbles. You want to stay alive, don't you? Yeah. Then forget the task and follow me to security. The two partners finally make it to security and stand together before an immense monitor. Motion catches their eye on the top quadrant. Oh my gosh! Who's that running from White's body? Pink! Pink, Cyan sneers. Pink is one of the two imposters. Come on, we must make it back to the cafeteria before Pink kills again. I grab Cyan's arm and make a mad dash for the door. An alarm beeps and the lights dim. Oh no, Pink must have cut the lights, and we don't have flashlights. Cyan stumbles over something. Red helps Cyan to his feet. The two stumbles on towards the cafeteria. Bonk. I found the table, Cyan sighs. I'll press the button. You just rest, I said calmly. Zap! Instantly, all space personnel end up in the cafeteria. Self-report, shouts Black. Oh, for Pete's sake, Black, be quiet and listen. Now tell them what you saw, Cyan. Red and I were watching the cams in security, and Pink was running from White's bloody body. Cyan announces confidently. Knowing the jig is up, Pink puffs out her chest and proudly proclaims, "You got me." All vote Pink, and she is ejected. She was the first of the two imposters. Everyone stay safe. Everyone stay safe, I caution, Everyone stay safe, I caution the remaining cast of characters, knowing that one imposter remains among them. Let's head back to the cams, Red. 2 minutes later, zap. All remaining personnel stand before the center table in the cafeteria. Oh, now what? I bellow. What? I walked in and found Purple standing over Yellow's body in medbay. Lime points his finger menacingly at Purple. It's not me. I just walked in 2 seconds before you arrived, Purple declares defiantly with his hands on his hips. Come watch me scan. Come on. If not him, vote me out next, Lime states triumphantly. Deal. Red, Cyan, and Lime all shake hands to seal the deal. Losers! You'll be sorry because it wasn't me, pouted Purple. The vote is taken and Purple is ejected. However, he was not the last imposter. It's you, Cyan and Red shout in unison as they both point at Lime. It's not me. I swear to you, it's not me, Lime pleads for his life. Black shouts, self-report, before slamming the button to call for the vote. Zap, all space personnel reappear exactly where they were standing seconds ago. The vote is taken and Lime is ejected. However, he too was not the remaining imposter. Only Black, Cyan, and Red remain standing around the center table in the cafeteria. Blue throws out the question. Blue throws out the question on everyone's minds. Should we stay together? Black asks, what task do you have left, Blue? Blue replies, I just have to reset the comms and communications. Now that only 4 of us remain, let's complete some tasks. Cyan turns and begs to Red, please. Sure, what do you have to do? I say, trying to calm my partner's jitters. I still have to jettison the trash, Cyan states. Okay, Black. You go with Blue and watch him complete resetting the comms. I'll accompany Cyan and watch him jettison the trash. But I have to collect the trash first. You can all watch me from here, Cyan states. Black and Blue, give Cyan a minute and we will all walk down to communications together. Both Black and Blue nod in agreement. Cyan hustles over and grabs the lever and tugs it down forcefully. The gears of the vacuum engage and a loud sucking sound drowns out any other noise. Zap! Cyan appears exactly where he was standing seconds ago before the center table. Black's hand is holding down the button and a look of horror is etched on his face. Blue's lifeless body is on the floor near his feet. Red and Cyan declare in unison, "Self-report!" "No!" screams Black. "It was Red! It was Red!" "Sure it was," scoffs Cyan. Red and Cyan vote and Black is ejected. However, he was not the last imposter. Red and Cyan stand and face each other in total shock and utter silence. Red is the first to speak. "Yeah, sorry, buddy, it was me. I'm the last imposter. I whacked Brown first to kick off this party, baby." Cyan utters, "Well, why didn't you kill me long ago? You had so many chances." "Why? Because I want you to win. By winning the game, you don't have to regenerate. Now you can go binge a series on the Teletron or go prepare a full-course meal in the galley. Heck, why not do both? The next game won't begin until you decide to initiate the new game sequence. Now, go on and mash the button and claim your prize. This is the nicest thing anyone has ever done for me." Cyan embraces Red in the bear hug, huge bear hug, lifting his partner off his feet. After dropping Red back down to the floor, Cyan stares at the button at the center table. "What you waiting for?" asks Red. "Mash it." "It just feels weird," Cyan responds. "Allow me then." Red pushes the button to call for a vote. Zap! Red and Cyan stand exactly where as they were before. Both players vote Red, both players vote Red, and Red, the last remaining imposter, is ejected. Cyan stands alone at the table, victorious. And that, my friends, is an Among Us mystery. Let's start off with, I'm going to go with Thomas Burson. Thomas, take it away.
There, I've unmuted, and here's the poem. It's called First Dandelion Afternoon. We were on a hillside of our romance, caught in the straw-chewing philosophies that drew deep arguments about the shapes formed by clouds. Knew the gods' demand of the proper interpretations of secret scent draped across the landscapes of the heavens. I had chased, walked, talked you out of the cloistered tomb of winter demands, where the heat smothered pushed you into pillows, wallpaper, and the constant racket TV fills a silence with limitless promise undelivered. First spring days are sacred. Wishes sent to the clouds by elfin winds, draped on the backs of dandelion ballerinas, become secrets released on the cusp of warm days, passion freed in the flutter of flight, quail flushed. We fell on our backs after rock dancing across stream, dividing the valley, masters of the world, a quilt spread before us. You decreed that work should cease. Maypoles woven in early March. Brownies invited to attend in crocus bonnets. The twinkle in your eyes as you pushed your hands into the pockets of low-slung jeans. Summer could not leap into my arms soon enough. We held hands as we commented on the cloud display, felt brave as we trembled with the rising fog of desire, rose to our feet, tossed dandelions aside, and raced across the field as if we could outdistance the first signs of love awoken before we knew what to do with it and what it meant.
Mm. Mm. I just renamed you Dr. Love because it's never a moment without Dr. Love showing up. I love the imagery. I mean, when you were crossing the rocks, I was like, oh my gosh, how many of us did that? Anybody remember themselves crossing the rocks, balancing? Oh my gosh, I loved it. Thank you, Thomas. Fantastic. All right, Eloise Wallace. Eloise, do you have something for us tonight? Unmute yourself. You're going to have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I've done it. Since I have not participated in a while, so and at the last minute I wrote a 10-minute poem about my grandkids. Very short. It's called The Sounds of Those Tapping Little Feet. Here come the sounds of Olivia's and Noel tapping feet, running as fast as they can. The sound of their feet makes me realize how fast running used to be. I only could see a flash of their bodies as they run across the floor to the next room, running and going nowhere fast. As I hear the tap tap of their running feet, I think of myself, what happened to those times when I could run that fast? Not realizing how fast time passes, that sound was not going to last. I say to them, run girls fast, if they only knew how fast time passes. Tapping sounds of running feet sounds neat. Still, that sound will not last. I could remember when running was with ease. I had no problem with my knees. I was quick, never thought of walking with a stick. Run, Olivia and Noel, as fast as you can, because this time will not last. That's it, short and sweet.
Thank you,
Thank
Eloise.
you.
Thank you very much. Oh, yes, I love the line about running fast. I like that. Very nice.
They never walk, they always run.
Yes, they do.
Thank
Yes,
you.
they do. Take care. Thank you. All right, Alice Mergler. Where is our Alice Mergler?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. You know, Paulette Gardner was one of the first members of our Poet Laureate Circle, and she stayed with us, as John knows. He is one of the first members too. And I have followed her as a seated person every year for many years at this huge Martin Luther King program out at Highland School in Warrenton. It's a combination of churches and community members who get together on Martin Luther King Day. And she can't be here tonight, so I decided that it was time that you hear one of her wonderful poems. Every year, for the many years I've been there, maybe 10 at least, she opens the program with a beautiful poem built around the theme for that year. And I just wonder how every year she can come up with something equally beautiful to the last year that just took your breath away. So I decided tonight, because of this week, and because his birthday celebration is in between Spilled Ink East and our regular Spilled Ink. So I'm going to read The Disintegration of Injustice by Paulette Gardner. Dr. King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Haiti, Mongolia, Sudan, Hong Kong, Birmingham, Warrenton. Whether far, far away or closer to home, injustice is an existential threat to all humanity, a global insanity, whether it's economic injustice, racial injustice, or social injustice. Injustice breeds resentment. It is a thief that robs people of their dignity and their basic humanity by violating the bonds of established human decency. A young Dr. King suffered under the indignity of the South's segregation laws. Yet, he devoted his life to changing those laws and improving lives. Dr. King said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" Early in his ministerial career, he knew it was his duty to help others in any way he could. He helped the disenfranchised to register to vote. He helped the sick, the poor, the young, and the old. He paved the way for others to follow. If Dr. King were alive today, I imagine he might say, to break down injustice, help others, and vote. Hong Kong, Birmingham, Warrenton, whether close to home or far, far away, injustice is insufferable and unsustainable. And then she ends with a quote from Lyndon Johnson, a president of long ago. "The vote is the most powerful instrument ever devised by man for breaking down injustice and destroying the terrible walls which imprison men because they are different from other men." Lyndon B. Johnson.
You.
Yes, thank you very much. It was wonderful. It was so perfect, Alice, for this week. I mean, you hit it spot on. So I wish Paulette could have joined us, but you know what? You did a good job for her, and she made her proud. So thank you for reading that. All right, I'm going to go. All right, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Terry Joseph, I believe this is her first time with us. So Terry, unmute yourself and let's give her a round of applause. All right. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Can you hear me? You can hear? Okay. Thank you. I'm the president of the Poetry Society of Virginia. You can also contact us on Facebook, which is where I found Spilled Ink, John. Okay, so I wrote a poem that it's a little more mundane than some of these others. So I just came up with it while I was ironing, and I was reminded of the movie Dr. Zhivago. And I have a note at the beginning. It's called Balalaika. In 1958, Boris Pasternak was awarded the Nobel Prize for his vast collections of poetry and his novel, Dr. Zhivago. The Communist Party of the Soviet Union forced him to deny the award. Every time I iron, I think of Lara, picturesque perspiration, nostrils flared, lips full. Nurse, laborer, as the motherland demanded. White scarf covered blonde tresses. Dip of arm, steam, lift and lug. Thud of metal, slam of iron, forcing wrinkles into submission. The labor, the effort. How to live with heat only from coals. How to love only from distance. Yuri penned her poems, romance of language, rhyme without reason. Autumn, the Christ child, metaphors, loved glimpsed from grimy window of a train. Loyalty swallowed like rotten boiled potatoes. The boots, the whispers behind curtains, the baby girl, steam and snow. Januaries and Augusts tumbled one upon the other. That a uniformed member of the Interior Ministry, the collective accepted request, then obsessed what grace to be found. The girl whose soul evoked the spirit of the Balalaika. Self-taught. Cloud dwellers said it was never about politics. It was the relationships, the private lives, the folk songs that bound them. It was about the burden of a revolution that failed to save them. Watch how Lara steps into Olga's shoes. Listen to the crying chords of the balalaika, that wooden triangle of 1,000 years past, how its 3 simple strings pierce the Siberian dark, where conscripted doctors stitched. I hear the strums across the steppes as the hiss of coal-hot irons mingle with the mist. Thank you.
That was wonderful, Terry. Thank you for joining us tonight. I love the imagery, and I was like, "Oh man, that was better than Dr. Zhivago right there. It was nice, right to the point. Right to the point. I was like, wow,
it's a lot faster. It's more condensed.
Why wasn't Terry writing this? This was wonderful. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. All right, Lesley, Tyson, take it away.
Okay. The first one I'm going to read is called Doors and Stars. I stand in the dark of rotation, wearing only stars to relieve the heaviness, not enough to glow or define shadows. Moment interminable, as an unseen door appears, opens. Interior absorbs all light to reveal no shape to what waits rotation, paused, absolute silence. Stars blur to a stop, even my breathing paused. Quiet. My heart beating below the threshold of sound. Nothing moves, and yet I long to touch the frail silvery hand suspended in darkness. And this next one is called Haunting Shadows. It is a form, or haunting the shadows. Hoping to see through shadows drifting, almost becoming solid shapes without names, until a whisper from behind the left, no direction that registers on a compass, tells of myths hiding behind what is not solid, instantly transforming to concrete memories, nightmares coming back to life in the dark. Ghosts become allies through the maze that appears in place of locked doors, handcrafted from the memento mori, everyone who entered unprepared. Slipping into lightless paths without understanding how their own hearts would confuse them into absolute hope or despair, to lose all thought of direction between unchangeable past or misunderstood presence, needing to wait for signs to finish or move forward, still searching for sentinels in the shadows. Thanks.
Thank you, Lesley. All right, let's go with Katherine Gotthardt. Katherine Gotthardt, take it away.
Okay. So it's been a rough week. This was my processing of this week in the middle of the night. It's called Aftermath. 3:37 a.m. I listen for helicopters, for some staccato pop. If not, then something banal I can count to get back to sleep. Perhaps the seconds between what the clock says, what the newsman says, what my mother would say. Pray. 3:39 a.m. Horrible as it sounds, I'm thankful she did not live to see this day. Her anxiety would have multiplied, replayed the scenes of all that died the day the Capitol was breached, I try to count my blessings. 3:42 a.m. I find myself listening for shouting, some unusual sound, something other than the profound chaos I can't clear out. I'm seeing the steel barricade open, armed men pushing police, climbing the sides of law and order. I count, exhale, cry, ask my mother why. 3:44 a.m. I add the seconds, gathering specks of what I know. Violent mob, lost minds, a man in horns, no shirt, fur pelt, claiming the mosaic floor. Not your average person. A nutty, she'd call him. Certainly not someone counting on sleep that night. 3:49 a.m. I wonder briefly if anxiety is inherited. Not that it matters when the whole living world leans in, heads tilted, listening as I am, for the sound of everything ending. Some are counting on it. 3:52 a.m. I have to work in the morning, later this morning that is. I won't give fur pelt man satisfaction. No mental health day for me. I'll do it for my mother. I'll do it for normalcy. I'll do it because others are counting on me to hold it together. 3:55 a.m. I decide it's high time to get up, think of what poem to write, ask my mother for words that matter, don my best jewelry and watch. Let's set an alarm, shall we? Do something a little different. Count down until dawn. Watch while it stretches its arms. Watch as it rises again. Thank you.
Thank you, Katherine. Definitely a weird week, and I'm glad. Perfect, recap of the week. It was a long day on Wednesday. All right, Megan McDonald. We are moving to you, Megan McDonald, and Cat Interruptus. Is he going to make an appearance?
I'm gonna do two. I'm pulling one out of retirement. I nearly fell out off the chair when they were doing the news the other day for something, not depressing and everything going on. They're like, well, it's a big anniversary. And I'm like, oh, okay. So do you know what it's the 25th anniversary of?
No.
The blizzard of 96.
Oh.
So I'm pulling this one out of retirement. So it's only in the second year of my going back to writing poetry. So this one is an older poem. Winter 96. On the eve, there was a rumor of things to come. To the store was the chant. Hordes descended into a mass of bread, milk-eating locusts. On the first day it snowed and we dug. On the second day, it snowed more and we dug more. On the third day, we made our way out and found that the bread, milk-eating locust had gotten there first. On the fourth day, we slithered to work. On the fifth day, it snowed more. Oh well, here comes the bread, milk-eating locusts again. Okay, so the second one, I had another lineup I was going to read earlier this week and decided not to go with lighter ones. So this one is called Swing. The swing of a bat, the haft of wood never ceases to bring spring alive, baseball to others, a right, a game. The pull of an oar sending shells through water, a swish through summer heat. All games to make one sane, if not lean, remain undone. I desk-bound grow older, wider, not wiser. My mood swings lower each day as I paper hunt and paper bury. Even my dreams are negative. So today I choose to swing free up toward the sky. Today I choose to swing free of negative vibes surrounding me, filling my head with lead cotton. I swing. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Megan, very much. Kimberly.
I'm here.
All right, take it away.
Okay. Got a couple of poems I was going to read. I had a published book come out this week on Amazon. It's my third one I've come up with in the last few years. And I will show the link if anybody's interested. So these two I heavily edited, and I think I at a place where I like them. So these are in the book. First one is Let Me Bother You. Along the shoreline, the two of us stand close as the distance between us grows. It comes across in hurling waves, unlike the gentleness that greeted us. Let me bother you and remind you I'm still here. The stale heat of the summer air weighs us down into a thick fog. If only I could reach for a knife to cut right through, separating us in two. I watch you standing there, but I'd rather tug on your beard. I'd give anything to roll through the waves with me landing on top, to lay with our bodies soaking wet, watching the earth melt away beneath us. The distance between us would dissolve, and the silence held within, while watching the waves in unison. Our feet would become cemented in place while daydreaming for hours, as we know the waves will never end. Just as we once aspired to be, never ending, flowing carelessly. And the next one I have called It's All Okay. And I may have read this before, but I've edited it heavily, so I wanted to bring this up again. We arranged to meet at our favorite park bench, overlooking the town green. It was any moment now, the ripping away of the strings barely holding us together. We didn't need explanation. We both knew it had come to this. You arrived with your carefree smile and an ice cream cone to smooth out the tone. Your tongue rounded the ice cream like the times it used to do the same to me. How I longed to return to those times before indifference and distaste, before you threw the suitcase into the trunk and disappeared. You returned with, it's all okay, and the assurance that it didn't mean anything anyway. We sat in silence. An imminent implosion of my heart loomed, but yours left months ago. I turned to ask for a bite, and you knew what I ached for. Nibbles from ear to neck. This is it, isn't it? I aside, already knowing the answer. We'll be fine, you replied. An empty reassurance, but our ship already sailed, and this was all formality. Of course I'll be fine. You don't have to. Then your eyes met mine to query. You sure? You abided to ensure my mental state. With a nod, I pulled the ice cream from your hand, swirled my tongue around the sweetness for relief. It was the only way to wipe away the image where my tongue knew it ought to be.
Nice. All right, thank you. I often, as you're reading, and I look over at Tom, and I'm like, if we would shove you two in a room, what you could come up with for in an hour? Am I right? Oh my God!
It's a lot of love poetry, breakups, and love making, and all that stuff.
I know. It's like you and Tom, you two in a room for 1 hour together, and you would be ruling the world. I know it. So thank you very much. All right, we had a lot of movement. So Lucy Koons. Are you there?
Okay, so because of sort of the situation that we've been dealing with and the sad times, I've been working on gratitude. So this is a little different from what I usually write, and I'm actually inspired by Gail, who writes about things in her life in the past.
Yeah.
So here we go. This is called Captain Jack. Let me tell you about Captain Jack. Captain Jack is a Chevy Trailblazer, and as far as I'm concerned, he is the best vehicle in the world. Back in 2010, for a few years already, my family and I had been living in Doha, Qatar, in the Middle East. It's a small desert country that juts off of Saudi Arabia like a thumb, a peninsula surrounded by the waters of the Persian Gulf. It's hot there. In the summer months, the temperature can reach 112 degrees Fahrenheit. So you want a car that is reliable, because breaking down out in the desert in July or August can mean heat stress. I had been a full-time stay-at-home mom since the day our daughter was born, and now that she'd been in school a few years, I was inspired to follow my daughter's lead and exercise my brain in new ways. Of course, an extra incentive was a paycheck, and I was excited when I got a job located at the U.S. Army base called Camp Osalia. Many folks have heard of the military presence in Qatar called Al Udaid Air Base that hosts the US Air Force and is known for its fighter jet sorties over Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. But Camp Asaliya is not so well known. It is like Al Udaid's loyal but quiet cousin, never seeking the spotlight, but always there for support. With my new job, my husband and I decided we needed a second car. It just so happened that Camp Asaliya's fleet cars were Chevrolet Trailblazers, made in Ohio and painted a dusty twilight blue. As new fleets replaced old, some of the retired fleet vehicles would end up off base among the general population in Qatar. And that is how we came to own Captain Jack. An Egyptian used car merchant sold us the best vehicle in the world. Soon I was driving Captain Jack back to base, past the Army National Guard soldiers who stood watch and bided their time to finish up their 10-month tours and head back to the loving arms of their girlfriends or wives, whose pictures they'd show and volunteer details about. Standing guard seems lonely. But Captain Jack always seemed on a mission. After I exchanged respectful pleasantries with the soldiers, Captain Jack would push past the guardhouse, kicking up gravel and clouds of dust, bouncing into the Army base's perimeter like it was good to be home again. To make a long story short, fast forward to today, 10 years later, a total of 13 years out of the factory for Captain Jack. This means 13 scorching summers, 100,000 miles of melting tarmac, a reupholstery after summer upon summer of dripping ice cream, several sets of tires, and a paint job. About that paint. After years of sizzling heat and unseen sandstorms, Captain Jack's steel body began to shine through his paint. To me, he seemed beautifully scarred, a testament to Captain Jack's steadfastness, but it was obvious he was becoming an eyesore to the status-conscious neighbors. Whenever Captain Jack cantered through the compound where we foreigners lived, the residents' eyes seemed to scoff. There goes the neighborhood. So, to save the peace, the paint job seemed the right thing to do. Anyway, through it all, Captain Jack has remained our loyal steed, never breaking down and always reliable, an American-made transplant, like me, like us. And I thank God that Captain Jack has kept our family safe all these years. The end.
Oh, that was wonderful. That was wonderful, Lucy. Yes. Oh, awesome. All right, let's go.
Thank you.
Laura, are you there? And I think you've been here before. Unmute yourself, Laura, and you're up.
Okay. I feel like an interloper. I'm new to the group, but I'm a rhymester, a storyteller. I thought I would share with you a poem from my chapbook called A Little Bit of Banter.
Wonderful.
And this one is called The Unfortunate Beetle. A beetle and a queen, it said, were lovers in the royal bed. Believe it, in a fairy tale, such misalliances prevail. The king, in lieu of reprimands, took justice in his royal hands. He did not blame the beetle, no. It was the queen who had to go. He put some poison in a cup and said to her, now drink this up. Fine wine, my dear, to seal our vows, as potent as the law allows. Oh, thanks, she said, a tiny sip. She raised the cup up to her lip. Before she could allay her thirst, the beetle dove into it first. My love, he cried, it's not too late. I join you in your tragic fate. He drank a bit. He swam around. He hiccuped once, and then he drowned. The queen sighed, darling bug, farewell, and from her eye one teardrop fell. But she, bejeweled and befurred, when prodded, gracefully demurred. Woefully, we must conclude the beetle showed ineptitude. He should have stopped to think it through. It was a harebrained thing to do. With other bugs, the queen was smitten, but of this beetle, no more is written. Their love was daft, the beetle dafter, to dream of happily ever after.
Nicely done, Laura. Thank you. That loved it. I love stories. I love rhyming stories. So it hit home. I loved it. Thank you very much. Did you have another one, or was that it?
Well, I have one other from the same book.
Go ahead.
It's called Jim.
Okay.
Stark terrors underneath the sea upset my equanimity. A flashing glimpse, a hollow sound, a blob of flesh that's washed aground. Predicate a lurid scene of deep abyss and labyrinthine recesses wherein kraken lurk to ply their fiendish waterwork. And polyps gape, and shark teeth glint, while waiting for the merest hint of unsuspecting little toe to venture where no foot should go. That monsters do exist makes sense. Consider this for evidence. A boy I knew, his name was Jim, ignored the signs and went to swim. We saw some blood and heard a shriek, and that was Jim, or so to speak, for folks could never tell for sure from the remaining armature. Which is why I must decline your come on in, the water's fine. Though prey to sandfly, crab, and leech, I'll take my chances on the beach.
Oh, love it, Laura. Thank you very much. I love it. Andrew Smiley, you are up. Andrew Smiley.
I was afraid there might be a lag or something. I can read a couple of poems if you like.
You can read whatever you'd like. We do not care. It's whatever you want.
Okay. I'll start with a poem that I actually just finished a few days ago, and I submitted to a contest. And it's called Not Even Ash. And there's 3 verses, and if you imagine Florida, the state of Florida, the way it looks on a map, if you would reverse that, the verses look like a triangle that's getting smaller as it goes down, line by line. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so here we go. Not even any ash. As a doomed meteorite enters Earth's atmosphere, air's friction tears against uneven surfaces, forces it to flare, form a sky-streaking arc, endure a corrosive ordeal until diminishing into dust particles. Gravity's pull burns it all the way down, like a log tossed on a campfire, blazes and breaks apart, dissolves until disappearing with nothing left over to show for its fiery trip. When I happen to fall into your declining orbit and we rub each other wrong, heated breath escapes your mouth, directs abusive sounds of demeaning hatred, angry words your caustic lips spit out, intended to bring me down, reduced me to tears, sear and rescar my heart, scald and scathe my spirit, undermine and erode my trust, fragment my formerly fond feelings, melt my fading hope and resolve, make me feel lower than dirt and hurt so they push me too far from love until reaching critical mass and yield no more space for us to survive in. They ignite the end of our time together, cause us to disintegrate in a clean separation that leaves no remnants behind to salvage at ground zero, no wreckage to recover with, which to rekindle our newly old flame, no smoking crater of flickering embers to poke, stoke, refuel, or respark, not even any ash remains for me to be reborn from, restart a fresh life like a phoenix, or to waft away with on the departing breeze that arises through treetops. So I drift in darkness like a firefly floats in search of the fleeting flash and glow of another lonely lost star. So
Nice, Andrew.
the next one is meant to be funny. It's written in the style of a limerick. I'd like to know if you feel like it works, and if it appears or seems to be funny or not. And it's let me see if I can find it up. It's called Seder Surprise. Seder Surprise. When eager I sit at my first Seder meal, my Gentile eyes doubt this meager spread is real. Instead of a Jewish feast, I've been passed over, at least. Just one matzo ball in my soup? What's the deal? So the story behind that, do you think that worked?
I don't know if you can see the screens, but I have at least 4 or 5 smiling faces. So I laughed. I love the Passover and I love the matzo ball. I thought it worked. I loved it.
Yeah, the story is I married a young lady who has a Jewish background, and I'd heard about matzo ball soup. So unfortunately, my assumption was that it had a bunch of different matzo balls in it. And when I got the bowl, there was just one ball in the middle, and I was like, "Where are the rest? Where's the rest? What is this?" You know. So I tried to make a funny poem out of it. So.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. Oh my gosh, I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. I feel like I'm playing Tetris tonight because there is a lot of movement on my screen. So I'm just going to let everybody, it's going to be, so I don't forget anybody. I believe it's Brian and Ruth and John and Robert. Those are the 4 speakers I have left. All right. So Brian, take it away for us.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
This may look familiar to some of you. I'm going to read one piece from the Chaos Anthology, which I'm sure some of you are in. The piece I'm going to read is called The Hispanic Girl, Recuerda. Maria sat intently, her head nodding drowsily against the window seat of the bus, looking across street lanes stolen from bush Indians, where the blood-stained bones of her ancestors have colored canyons of clay, crimson, and copper, and their tears have made rivers, forming spines in desert terrain. She hears the drums in her heartbeat. The ancestors do not rest in peace, for they know of her intent. They are chanting in echoes. They are arising from the mist of a foregone past, trying to wilt her and kill her light. Like black wolves in chase, they are hungry. She hears gnashing of teeth and the screams of the dead. She runs for shelter, surrounded in dark clouds. She feels hands clutching her neck. She is losing her breath. They want to wilt her and kill her light. Awakened suddenly to safety by a bump in the road, Maria kissed the golden cross that lay upon her neck. She clutched the dream catcher Abuela, Grandma, gave her. Yes, Maria remembered Grandma's secrets, spoken through thin, broken lips. With the crack of her back and the aid of a walking cane, Grandma leans in and says, "When the bus stops, your hair is blonde and blue are your eyes. Chase the dream, reinvent yourself in American lies." But Maria's light is from within, and she had just been reminded that it can be reclaimed, so she would persevere for those who only speak in dreams. Recuerda. Thank you. Recuerda just simply means remember. So you cannot forget your ancestors. That's basically what that's about. And I'm sure for the second reading, I'm sure you all, several of you have been published in that as well.
Yes.
So I will be reading Daddy's Hands. Again, I had to remove my glasses because I'm getting old, can't see very well. Daddy's Hands. As a baby, she clutched his finger tightly and cried when he wiggled it free. And everyone knew she was a daddy's girl for sure. She held firm to his hands as she jumped puddles, skipped and avoided sidewalk cracks on her way to school on her very first day. He held her close for a picture as she looked stunning in her prom dress, and he gave her date a stern eye. His hands gave her away as wedding bells rang, but she was his little girl yet still. So this was the reason she now was chosen to hold his hands for what might be the last time. And every time she felt the warmth leaving his fingers, she cried like a baby behind the mask, among the sounds of respirators. So he would clutch her hands tightly. This time he would not let go. No, he would not let her hand free, because everyone knew she was a daddy's girl, for sure. Thank you.
Wow. Brian, that is wonderful. Ruth, you are up.
So this is a short story. It seems like people are doing poetry. Is a short story okay?
Lots of people do poetry. For some reason, it's spilled ink. Some people think, Ruth, that spilled ink is a total poetry venue. And I try to tell people, no, if you wrote it, we want to hear it. You can pick whatever you want. It can be, I mean, Brian's been there for a lot. Katherine's been with us. Oh, Lesley, we've heard it all. I mean, we've heard political rants on the left and political rants on the right, and we've heard, poetry and short stories and nonfictions and memoirs. And hey, we don't. And we're here. We don't care what you read. So knock yourselves out. And I'm going to ask, but right away, because some of you that don't know Ruth will always fool me, because one night I'll think she's going to tell me a story of her life, and she'll just, and then I'll have to go, oh my gosh, did that really happen? And then she'll say, no, I made that up. So, all right, Ruth, is this, before I even hear your wonderful story, is this fiction or is this nonfiction?
This is fiction. It actually was a contest many years ago.
All right.
And the idea was you had to do something with the glass.
Okay.
So, and then you had to create a story. So too soon empty. She stared at the empty glass next to the kitchen sink. She was positive that it was already empty. She had not drank from it. It was empty, but surely she had poured it down the drain. The glass sat on a granite countertop next to the kitchen sink. Directly behind the sink was a large window that caught the rising sun. It was morning now, and the sun shined brightly through the open curtains into the immaculate kitchen. Every surface cleaned and wiped down with disinfect. A faint, lingering smell of fresh clean hung in the air. Every surface clean, except for that glass. Annie slumped against the wall, her eyes riveted to the empty glass on the kitchen counter. The kitchen, the center of the house, was an open flowing space, precise and orderly, contained only by a large partitioning wall that buffered the long countertop that divided the kitchen and the living room. The dividing countertop seemed to invite the living room guests to lean on its gleaming Italian granite and share the cooking experience. She was leaning against the sunshine yellow partition wall that helped to frame the doorway of the kitchen. Annie had come in laughing, just a soft chuckle really, but it was laughter in a house too long silent and dark. Dark despite the bay windows running the length of every wall of the apartment. She had come to the kitchen in early morning sunshine laughing, that quiet discovery laugh, that kind of laugh that whispers in wonder. Ah, so this is how it is. Annie had walked away from the front door. Annie had walked away from the front door smiling and spied the glass, tossed herself sharply against the wall inside the kitchen door to stare at the empty glass. She had only just that moment forgotten, but now she remembered that empty glass, reminded her of a call, and the call reminded her of her rage, and with the rage, a clinging despair and grief that reminded her of the nothingness. Her sister-in-law's early morning call was a catalyst that drove her forward to that scary, lonely place. Please let us come. We've been planning this for months, and there isn't any time to reschedule or to change the location now. We have to come to celebrate Dad's retirement tonight, and you just have to be there, Annie. He's not getting any younger. You are his favorite, just for him, Annie. Be there just for him. After 30 years in the police force as a negotiator, Patrick, Annie's husband's father, was retiring. He had left the field more than 10 years ago, but still worked actively as a counselor and advisor for the more difficult negotiation cases. He had talked more than 1,000 hostage takers into custody and more than 1,000 people intent on suicide from desperate perches of hopelessness. But now he was fragile, with too little lift, with too little hope himself. For the first time in his life, not enough for anyone else, he had finally decided to retire fully from the police force and attempt to locate his center once again. After a while, Annie could no longer hear her sister-in-law pleading. It had become like the hum of the refrigerator. You hear it, but not really. Annie didn't hear anything other than the idea that someone else's needs were more important than her own. Why now? I can't live now, not now. Just leave me alone, her heart raged. Just leave me alone. I can't think trying to set aside your needs. Annie's mind tumbled down into darkness and rage as her sister in desperation tried to convince her to allow their visit. Blackness grew, and out of almost nothing, this black, ugly thing grew in her. As her sister's voice droned on in the background, she heard only wicked things. Her grief twisted love into grasping, usury, concern into selfishness, and the desire for her presence an opportunity to bask in the relief that her life was not theirs. I'll show them, her bitter grief whispered. I'll die in their presence, and they won't even know it until it's too late. I'll laugh and sing and celebrate with them all, and only later will they know it was a lie they forced on me, a lie they made me tell. They will truly understand then. She had been playing with the idea for weeks, really, talking it over with the grief therapist, working these thoughts of death out of her sister, pretending to survive. And she would do it again, even better tonight, with even a bigger audience. Tonight she would pretend. She would pretend to forget, pretend she was capable of celebrating anything, and pretend to be happy, to love, and to live. Okay, you can come, she told her sister-in-law. You can come. The darkness was with her when she found the recipe on the internet. You can find anything on the internet. She was comforted by grief's rage, and the rage was a presence with her as she mixed the ingredients in the glass. And for the first time in a long time, she was not alone in her own skin, bitterly, agonizingly alone in her own mind. The doctors comforted her and filled up the hollow spaces. And the darker her thoughts and actions, the less alone she felt, the more purposeful the moment. That evening, she stood by the sink, dressed for the first time in months. She had even gone so far as to put on makeup, well, lipstick anyway, downtown brown. Her hands clenched the glass as she stood by the kitchen sink. The rage, the grief, the business reached a crescendo. But she was known for her quicksilver rages, always getting over it before any real damage could be done. Something always stopped her from acting too quickly, from moving too soon. This time too, yes, this time surely, this time too, yes. She had opened the door to her husband's family, feeling free of guilt, having tossed the contents of the glass down the drain last night before she went to answer the door. The last ray of morning sunlight twisted along the curls of Annie's hair as she slid down to her bottom on the cool glass tile floor. She remembered when those tiles were first inlaid years ago, when she and her husband were newly married. As she and John stood on the newly cured floor, he laughed softly. He was always laughing in delight. Only you, baby, only you would want a glass floor in the kitchen. But you must know what you're doing. After all, you're the chef. John reached for her to pull her close, fitting her body to his with a familiar ease of knowing. As their bodies cradled each other, Annie pushed her head back from the comforting place in John's chest to stare in his eyes. You don't mind the floor, do you, John? It's okay, isn't it? John swayed with Annie, pulling her back into his close embrace. Ah, Annie, you'll never know, will you? Anything you want, baby girl. Anything you want is oh so good by me, he whispered in her neck just before they cushioned that newly cured floor. Annie sighed, coming out of this sweet memory of so long ago, to press her back hard up against the glossy kitchen wall. Listening ever so slightly to her left, her arms seemed limp and unresponsive. She remembered the dinner party that lasted to the early hours of the morning. It was immediately apparent that her sister-in-law's insistence on having the father-in-law's retirement party was simply a ruse to come to her home, to bring a difference into Annie's home. And just as she had planned, Annie pretended to smile as she opened the apartment door. Only they weren't there to celebrate. They didn't come to sing and laugh. They, each one of them, had come to love her. As an only child who had lost her own mother and father at an early age, meeting the family that first time 15 years before, Annie was delighted and agonizingly apprehensive. To meet the family of the Golden Boy, youngest only son with 7 elder sisters, the change of life baby boy no one expected. To meet the family that very first time as his wife, it was something glorious the way they enveloped her that first day, and every day of their marriage after. John's family was always wonderfully inclusive, always kind and loving, treating her as if they loved her alone and not simply as an extension of their son and brother. Until she opened the door to see all their loving faces gathered together for her, she had forgotten how comforting their combined love could be, how sincerely and singularly and exclusively they had made it all about her. Annie's pretense died, and she started thinking only to spare them her grief and her rage. And in a moment, after the overwhelming fear of having someone in her home for the first time since the agonizing loss of her husband and only child, after the fear of opening herself to others, some moment in that evening of stories of her adored husband, as told to her by brother, cousin, and beloved's, as told her as brother, cousin, and beloved son, in the stories of her own precious child. She forgot she even wanted to pretend and opened her heart to hope. Annie sat close with John's frail father, leaning into him as he cradled her hands in his. It was a silent moment among the quiet sharing and gentle laughter. He was such a special little boy, her father-in-law whispered, just special. He was, wasn't he? Annie whispered as she leaned close to her only child's grandfather. Searching eyes pleaded painfully, eager that he understand. Yes, he was a special little boy, just like his father. And for some reason it clicked. In that moment, she understood that this man did understand even more than she knew. He seemed so still, his eyes lowered, hiding a piercing pain. One of the most desperate things about my job when I worked in the field was the piteous knowledge of so many people having to let go of hope too soon. John's father's eyes drifted up to caress Annie's face softly. You know why so many people call out for help or cry out when they take that leap to end their life? It's because the darkness leaves them, that presence that tells them to share pain, to hurt others as they hurt. It abandons them when there is no way back. And in the moments before forever comes, they are blessed or cursed with a moment of clarity and realize that hope is possible, that in one moment to the next is a lifetime of difference, the infinite of possibility, and bordering on the crest of this reality, of this realization, is hope. Hold on, Handy. Hold on. Hope is coming. Hope is coming. Annie grasps John's father's fragile hand and for the first time believes. The germination of hope is created and she forgets herself for a moment. She releases the pain. She didn't remember talking through the night. She didn't remember dawn of day as they left her. And most importantly, she had forgotten the empty glass. Early in the morning, her father-in-law built a fire in the fireplace. Annie sat next to it until high sunrise. A dull pain had awakened her out of her contemplative pose. It had driven her to the kitchen. It wasn't a vicious pain, just a dull ache that allowed her to laugh in remembrance of the late night intervention. It allowed her joy for a moment, hope, before she saw the empty glass on the kitchen sink and remembered the rage, the emptiness, and that dark presence. Annie slid slowly to her left side to lay her face against the cool glass floor. Her face tilted out slightly to stare at the glass on the kitchen sink. The sun shined through the glass, catching the prism of color, trapped in the droplets that still sang to the tall side. Her father-in-law was right in a way. Now hope visited her in these last moments as she lay still on the kitchen floor, staring at that empty glass. But there's a difference. Annie hoped they would never know how she deceived them. She hoped the pain she wanted to share would never visit them. Annie hoped that her father-in-law would understand that she knew she had let go too soon, too fast. That now she knew there was always hope. The glass on the beautifully immaculate kitchen, sitting on the gleaming granite counter, was dulled by a smear of brown lipstick displayed in sharp relief against its edges. As she stared at the glass, dulled by the smear of, as she stared at the glass, dulled by the smear of brown lipstick displayed in sharp relief against the edge of the glass, she knew it was too soon empty. Closing her eyes, still she hoped.
Wow. Nicely done, Ruth. That is Ruth Matthews. That is what you get with Ruth Matthews, people. Some of you are new, first time hearing her. Ruth, that is Ruth Matthews to a T right there. So thank you, Ruth. It was wonderful. It was amazing. So filled with emotion. And wow, I loved the you took us down and then you brought us back up. So that was definitely, that was a wow. All right. Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate that. Wow.
Thank you.
All right. We have two more. We're as John Cowgill. John Cowgill, you are up. Take it
Alrighty.
away.
And so basically, I just dug up some vintage stories about New Year's Day. And the first one is from Baby New Year. Hello, everyone. I am Baby New Year. It is said that without me, December 31st would last forever. Allow me to let me tell you a little secret. That is not even true. That's a bunch of crap that somebody made up years ago. But I will tell you this. 2020 has ended. 2021 has begun. Therefore, enjoy this new year and say farewell to the old year. Did you ever notice that nobody ever wishes anybody a happy old year? For some, it was very happy. But anyway, I hope that you all can celebrate. I am Baby New Year, wishing you a happy new year. Now I need a new diaper. I just messed myself. And that is number one. Now imagine hearing the same story from Father Time. Hello, everyone. I am Father Time, the husband of Mother Time, the father of Son Time, and Daughter Time. Beautiful ladies and great gentlemen, this is New Year's Day. We wish everyone, at least the ones we prefer, a happy new year. However, nobody ever says happy old year. Since you have made it to the very end of this year, you should be proud. There are those who did not make it to this very point of time. Some of these people were your dearly loved friends and family. At the same time, new lives began in 2020. This is a great thing to be happy about in the old year. Then again, some of you did great things in the old year. You see, you should be proud of the old year. Forget about the bad things because those very things are behind you. When the old year ends, you will never be able to do things in that year again. Now a new year is beginning. What will happen? All I know for certain is there will be 12 months, 365 days, having 24 hours, with each hour having 60 minutes, with each minute having 60 seconds. As for everything else, I will not know until it happens. To you, I wish every single one of your seconds that count for you. I am Father Time. Happy New Year. And that's all I have today.
Thank you, and happy New Year to you, John. Make all your seconds count. That was wonderful. Thank you for that. And I do like Brian Donald James has commented, 2020 was worthy of the diaper. So yes, John, that was a good image on that one as well. So thank you for that. All right, Robert. Robert, take it away. You are it.
Good evening. I'm Robert. I'm a writer from Lewis, Delaware. My first piece is called Crow Murder Haiku. Look out arrives. Sky smart, street smart, human smart. Crow takes off, takeoffs cleared. No humans in trees. Crows only tree roost with crows. Treetop permit rules. Union unemployment. Masters of night surveillance. Working crow murder. Who knows your path best? Crow murder mystery. Crow neighborhood watch. Crow flyby greeting. human face recognition, grain seed trinket gift, holiday guest list, caw, RSVP, crow murder party.
Thank you, Robert. All right, I think everyone has gone tonight. So it was a fantastic night, people. I want to tell everybody that it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You know, I'll say I'm John Dutton and this is Spilled Ink, but we are Spilled Ink, and you guys are wonderful. I needed this. I think we needed this. And I love you all, and I appreciate you all very much. And I hope you keep scribbling. I know you'll keep scribbling and join us again in 2 weeks.